Hello everybody, it's Pineapple here, back with another video. And today I thought we'd take a look at the brand new Gate Guardian support. And surprise, surprise, like most Duel Monsters nostalgia bait, it's not that great. But that doesn't mean it's not very funny, and so we'll give it a test run. Subsequently, I have my deck list here, and we'll go over the card by card. So first up, we have one each of Sangen, Suijin, and Kazijin. They are fucking big, beefy brickheads. They do nothing, but they do facilitate all of your plays, and happen to be level 7. You know what else is supporting level 7s? Gashtira, so naturally we are on a small package of Unicorn. First up, we have the brand new Labyrinth Heavy Tank. This card is actually very good for what it tries to accomplish. It's a level 7. And you can normal it without tributing. You don't even need Birth, which is great. Unfortunately, though, it can't attack the turn it's summoned because, we can't have nice things for, any reason. During the main phase, though, you get to place one of the 3 Gate Guardian pieces in your spell trap zone as continuous spells. And then, if you control a Labyrinth Wall, you get to destroy a monster your opponent controls, which gives you, some semblance of the ability to break boards, which is nice. It does things. We then have Shadow Ghoul, 3 copies. You can discard it, search the field spell, which is great. And at the start of the damage step, if your opponent's monster battles while you control a Labyrinth Wall card, like when you immediately search it, you can destroy the opponent's monster that's battling, which is actually really cool and does come up a decent amount. We then have 3 copies of Unicorn. It searches Birth. It's fantastic. It's Unicorn. Just on its own, it's a really powerful card. It's awesome. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash is actually really good because if you don't have a normal summon, you can normal summon Ash and combine it with Unicorn in order to make one of Changing or Baron, which actually is really nice. It does come up. Changing is really great because if you banish pieces to summon a Gate Guardian, it triggers Changing, which is great. 1 Foolish Burial, just because we want to maybe send a piece of the Gate Guardian support so that we can, use it to make the big boy. 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods because we want to send Prey of Jirai Gumo to search Gate Guardian pieces. 3 copies of Fusion Deployment so we can get out copies of all of these bad boys. 3 copies of Prosby because this deck needs every bit of consistency it can possibly get, and its extra deck isn't crazy important, although you do want to be making the Gate Guardian pieces. 1 copy of Terraforming to find Wall Shadow as much as possible. 2 copies of Burial from a Different Dimension because we really, really need all the help we can get, and putting our pieces back in the graveyard in order to make extra copies of Gate Guardian is really good. We have 3 copies of Double Attack Wind and Thunder, where if you control a Gate Guardian monster, you get to target a card on the field, destroy it. That's not a once per turn, but the following effect is. During the main phase, you can banish this card from your grave and add one of your Gate Guardian pieces from your deck to your hand, or that is banished, which is great. And you can only use the search/add effect once per turn, but one pop per turn is great. We then have Birth. Birth is great. It lets us normal our pieces from our hands so that we can make them tiny parts. It's fantastic. We then have Labyrinth Shadow Wall. It says that monsters cannot attack the turn they're summoned except level 5 or higher monsters, which is kind of good. It's a nice little floodgate. And once per turn during your main phase, you get to place one of your Gate Guardian pieces in your spell trap zone as a continuous spell. And at the start of your opponent's battle phase, you get to target a monster your opponent controls with less than 1600 attack and destroy it, which actually is kind of useful. But the most important thing is that you can place pieces in your spell trap zone as a non-once per turn, which is fantastic. 3 copies of Imperm because we need cards that do something, and 1 Prey of Jirai Gumo. Jirai Gumo says that you can special summon it as a normal monster or to your main monster zone in the same column. It's also still a trap, and then you get to destroy a monster your controls in this card's column, which is, bad. But you get to banish it from your graveyard and add one of your Gate Guardian pieces that is banished or in your deck to your hand, which is good. Gate Guardians combined is a pretty good card. If your opponent activates a card that targets anything on your field, up to 3 times per turn you can negate and destroy it. Water and Thunder is mid. Unfortunately, all the mini pieces require you to control the monsters, which instead of just banishing them from the grave, because we can't have nice things like APC. And once per chain, you get to target a card your opponent controls, change its attack to 0, and you can only use that twice per turn. Wind and Thunder allows you to add a spell trap from your deck to your hand that mentions either Sanga or Kazijin up to twice per turn, which is okay, I guess. And Wind and Water is 2 times a spell trap negate, which is actually really good. Additionally, it's not a hard twice per turn. Which means that you can make multiples of these, which is really good, and you'll see that come up. Again, Baronne de Flora and Chenging, in the event that we can normal summon Ash Blossom to get to, Unicorn and one of these two. 2 copies of Divine Arsenal AA Zeus, we don't want it ripped. 1 Metal Flare, 1 Access Code, 1 Unicorn, and 1 IP Masquerena. So with that, let's hop into the games of this terrible, terrible deck. So, our first match is up against Exosister. We are fortunately going first, and we'll drop Shadow Cool in order to grab a second copy of Wall. We'll fire off Wall and use it to grab ourselves a copy of Suijin. From here, we'll Fusion Deployment, grab ourselves Kazijin, and fuse away into Wind and Water. From here, we'll grab Thunder, fire Burial from a different dimension, and grab out our huge, massive dude. This is really great for us, and we'll pass back to our opponent and hope they don't have any good cards. They'll start with Martha, which is really good for them, and then they will proceed to make Caspidus. I won't pretend like I know these cards do. They'll grab Ellis, special out Ellis, and again, since I don't know what these cards do, I'm clicking buttons, but I know that I'm not letting him cook with Fossil Dig, and unfortunately I get a little baited and they get to chain pack, since Gate Guardian, Wind and Water is once per chain. They'll fire their continuous spell, set 2, and pass back to us, as they can't really do anything. That's fine by my standards. And we'll start by placing, they'll fire off Dinomorphia Domain, and we're just not going to let that resolve. We'll grab back our Kazijin, Dumjiri Gumo, and add back this copy of Suijin. They'll overlay and trigger their continuous spell, and we'll just negate that. They'll try to use Michaelis to banish something, and we will simply negate with Combined. We'll normal summon Suijin, and they will concede. I'm shocked that I won, but again, it was also against a Dinomorphia hybrid, so take nothing for granted. So for our second match, we're playing against DDD, and we've drawn an FTK in the form of Imperm. They'll start with Slime and go into Flame King Genghis. They'll trigger Slime, grab out Ragnarok, trigger Genghis, Blink for Gilgamesh, and we'll drop Imperm, and this is basically the end of the game from here. They'll pass back to us, we'll draw for turn, and it's Shadow Ghoul, which is probably the best draw in the deck. We'll drop Shadow Ghoul, grab Wall Shadow, and from here we will use Wall Shadow to grab out Kazijin. We'll activate another Wall Shadow, grab Suijin, activate Fusion Deployment because we're just nice with it, grab out Sanga, make Combined, and then proceed to go popping their cards. I know that they're going to get to trigger this copy of Gilgamesh, but there's nothing that they can really go into that can just, out Combined. They'll try to pop our copy, or negate our copy of Wall Shadow with Siegfried, but unfortunately for them, we're just going to negate and destroy that. We'll get in for damage, and they'll activate Patent License, but there's nothing that they can really get off this. They'll pop Patent License and grab back their copy of Thomas. Thomas doesn't get them anywhere, and they will concede. So, if you noticed, the card that put in the most work there was Imperm. But yeah, this was a fun replay, and the deck can kind of go second if it draws, the greatest hand ever and uses all 5 pieces of it. So, our next match is up against a really weird deck. It was S-Force Runic, and we've drawn like garbage, but it doesn't matter because we're going to drop Wall Shadow. We're going to grab out Kazijin. We'll drop Foolish Burial for this copy of Unicorn because we need to have some sort of interruption. We'll bring back Unicorn and trigger Unicorn to grab ourselves an extra copy of Birth because we won't really want to thin our deck in hopes that we find literally anything of value. From here, our opponent's going to start with Flashing Fire to summon. They'll grab Hugin and they'll pitch Platia. And they'll grab, of course, Fountain. From here, we'll Unicorn and we'll rip out Celine because we don't want them to have access to it. They'll drop this copy of Fountain and Tip, and unfortunately for them, we're going to trigger Birth in order to banish a whole bunch of cards from their grave face down so that they do not get the opportunity. They'll drop Destruction as well as Freezing Curses, draw 2. But we've kind of stopped them from drawing as much as they want. They'll banish the Placewell and do a whole bunch of things with their starter. They'll clear our Unicorn, but it doesn't really matter because we have more Births in hand, and we've drawn another copy of the Pop. But it doesn't matter because it's actually online now that we can get to Water and Thunder. They'll banish with Hugin, we'll clear their Fountain, drop Birth, and they will concede. Eat. This one wasn't really interesting, but it was more interesting that I got to play against Runic S-Force, which I thought was a little funny. So our last match of the day is up against Pearly. Which is a very unfun deck to play with. We'll start with Shadow Ghoul for Wall Shadow, and we'll special Unicorn. They'll drop Ghost Warner, which is so bad. From here, we'll drop Foolish Burial Goods for Prey of Jiregumo, and the fact that this Ghost Mourner prevents us from adding Birth in order to normal out this copy of Suijin really, really sucks and hurts us. We'll set Imperm and pass back to our opponent in hopes that they don't have anything. They'll drop Sleepy Memory and grab out Lily. They'll fire Lily, and we'll drop Imperm on them. And remember that Imperm column. From here, we'll rip out one copy of something. They'll drop this copy of course, Frostbeat, because of course they'll take one of the memories. And unfortunately for them, they're going to proceed to put it in the imperm column. Oh no, and they'll concede. Yeah, so if you noticed, the card that won us the game was imperm. I really don't think the Gate Guardian support is that great. It's literally just bad ABC. But it is kind of fun. Of course, if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.